Wally West never asked to be the fastest man in the absolute universe. He just happened to be in the wrong lab at the wrong moment, interrupting Dr. Barry Allen's experiment and tumbling headfirst into a life where time bends, the past replays, and the future comes in terrifying flavours. One vision painted him as a shining hero, the other as a nightmare creature. So Wally ran, dragging Barry with him and killing him in the process. Wally's father, Colonel Rudy West, responded by unleashing the Rogues, a squad of altered soldiers armed with experimental weapons and accompanied by a psychic green monkey, who immediately defected to Wally's side. Grodd and Wally became inseparable, fugitive stumblings into other Fort Fox escapees. Heatwave, now depowered by Wally, and the Weather Wizard, now unconscious on the floor after Wally socked him in the mouth with a lightning-powered super punch, as you do. Then came the Rogues' twist. They didn't want to haul Wally back, they wanted him to join them. Just as that question hung in the air, issue 8 took us backwards into Barry Allen's past and made us rethink everything that we had seen previously. Before Fort Fox and that fateful experiment, he was a bright-eyed academic courted by Dr. Eleanor Thawne, granddaughter of Eobard Thawne, whose research had uncovered a dimension of living energy. She pitched that he join her on a new project called Blue Trinity to finish her grandfather's work. Years later, Fort Fox was built atop of that dream. Barry crafted a suit designed to survive the other dimension, which we recognise as the Flash costume, but he wasn't allowed to wear it. Others would walk into the unknown, while he stayed behind watching Discovery slip through his fingers, and he really wasn't happy about it. Then came the twist that rattled everything. A ghostly version of Barry appeared in the lab, begging his younger self to stop, insisting that Wally, not Barry, had to be the one. Suddenly, Wally's accident looked far less accidental, and Barry's death far less certain. That's where we left things, a lonely kid with impossible power, a missing scientist who may or may not be as gone as he seems, and a conspiracy stretching from a forgotten genius to a stolen alien craft pulled from another reality. It's all very mysterious, and with Absolute Flash 9 now in our hands, it's time to pick up the trail. Initially, Wally is reluctant to join the Rogues. Frankly, he has no interest in the kind of hijinks they get up to. Remember that they got court-martialed from the army for pulling a similar stunt, but Captain Cold tells Barry that he and his father Rudy West go way back. They know that Colonel West has been disappeared by Thawne, and they want Wally to help them find the Colonel and then put all this freaky stuff behind them. Grodd tells Wally that they are telling the truth, but advises caution, and he was right to do so because right off the bat, we're shown that one of the Rogues is a traitor. Jessie James, the trickster, has a camera in her helmet that is relaying everything back to Dr. Thawne. Shock, horror. If we compare the Absolute version of the trickster to her mainline counterpart, it's interesting to note some significant differences. The mainline trickster is the sort of villain who strolls into a room full of hardened rogues, armed with nothing but a box of novelty explosives and a grin that suggests he's about to ruin someone's Tuesday. And yet he still gets treated like the comic relief intern, and that dismissal is precisely what makes him interesting. Across most incarnations, comics, cartoons, and the glorious unhinged Mark Hamill versions, yes, there are several of them, the trickster's whole deal is that he uses people's low expectations as misdirection, which I suppose is the case here too, as the Absolute trickster has had a less prominent role so far. It seemed like she was more introverted, but perhaps she was simply taking a back seat so that she could document everything that was going on for Thawne. And it's ironic that during the Rogue's flashback story in issue 6, Jessie was the one to issue words of caution to her teammates. She didn't trust the government and was a conspiracy theorist, so yeah, it's pretty surprising that she betrayed her colleagues for the man, who in this case is Dr. Thawne. Perhaps she was filled in on the secrets of Fort Fox and became a believer. Dr. Thawne suggests that is the case, and we'll probably find out more in the next issue, assuming Trickster gets the chance to talk. Meanwhile, at Fort Fox, we're shown that actually Dr. Thawne has a better idea of what's going on than pretty much anyone else. She tells Rudy that she has orchestrated this entire situation. She encouraged Barry Allen to befriend Wally, saying she thought he had potential, tapping into Barry's nurturing instincts from his time as an educator. He assumed she meant potential as a scientist, but Thawne sees him as a tool to achieve her goals. And what are those goals? To open a doorway to the energy realm that was discussed in the last issue, which to be honest seems like a strange goal given that her team has already been to that realm. It's where they got the mysterious vessel from, so yeah? I'm sure this will be elaborated on later, but it doesn't seem like the strongest motivation. I need to open a door to a place we've already been. But then again, I'm probably missing something. Again, it'll likely be elaborated on later. Back with the Rogues, and Wally has another episode similar to his panic attacks in the first storyline. However, this is triggered by him seeing a strange portal where he can see himself at another point in time, who can see himself at another point in time, and can see himself at an entirely different point in time, and so on. It's almost like a temporal feedback loop that only he is experiencing, and it causes him to panic. What differs this time though is that he is not alone. Grodd is able to calm him through their psychic connection. Again, this plays into the theme of found family and connection, how other people enrich our lives rather than being a hindrance, except for Trickster, she ruins everything. But as the Rogues approach Fort Fox under the pretense of handing over Wally, Dr. Thawne makes her move. She asks to speak to the Trickster, and tells her to secure the asset. Once she confirms that she has Wally, Thawne activates their vessel's self-destruct command. While Thawne thinks that she has killed the Rogues, what she hadn't counted on was Grodd, who created a force field to protect them. Add that to his power list then. However, it was a huge effort on his part and he has passed out, leaving them in freefall. That's only really an issue for Captain Cold though, seeing as Golden Glider and Captain Boomerang can fly. Fortunately, his team has his back. While Boomerang secures Captain Cold, Golden Glider chases after Trickster and very firmly kicks her in the head. And with that, the only advantage they had, the element of surprise, is entirely gone. So, a few important things happened in this issue, but once again, the pace was incredibly rapid. I didn't exactly time how long I spent reading this comic, but I got through it within a few minutes, which is incredibly brisk. I suppose it is appropriate for a book about the fastest man alive, but I feel like a lot of things happen in this book without all that much actually happening. In this issue, the key beats were Wally seeing past and potential future versions of himself, Trickster betraying the Rogues beating Trickster almost immediately, and Dr. Thawne revealing she was the mastermind behind everything, which we sort of already knew. That's not to say that it's bad though, it's just that it's often a quick read that could probably do with slowing down a little bit. The section with Dr. Thawne was essentially just a string of exposition, playing on the trope of the wicked villain explaining their master plan right before their downfall. I feel like each of these storylines probably could have done with an extra issue, just to give it a bit of breathing room and allowed plot points to develop more naturally. Having said that, I don't think that I'm the target audience for this book. As a middle-aged man that is very comfortable being by himself, the themes of loneliness and found families don't resonate with me at all. I appreciate and recognise it, but it doesn't speak to me in the same way that some of the Absolute books do. Your mileage will vary though, of course. Absolute Flash number 9 is available now from all good comic shops. I would encourage you to research your local comic shop if you don't have one nearby. I'm certain there are dozens of good stores that would be happy to mail you your comics. If you're opposed to the idea of cluttering up your home with comics, then you can get this comic book digitally from places like Amazon, as well as Neon Ichiban, a new digital comics retailer from the founders of Comixology. I prefer physical comics, but I do like the convenience of having thousands of comics accessible on my phone, but you do what works best for you. For those keeping up with my struggles of storing all of these comics, the day has arrived. Batman Deadpool number 1 and its 18 million variant covers came out this week. My order was so big that Forbidden Planet had to split it into 2 separate packages. What am I going to do with all of these? Next time. Next week there are 2 Absolute comics coming out. The delayed Absolute Batman 14, where Batman, Catwoman, Alfred, the Red Hoods and Killer Croc team up to take on Bane, once and for all. And following that, I'll be talking about Absolute Wonder Woman 14, which continues the story of Wonder Woman and her evil magical doppelganger. Hope to see you then.